There is a person in your life right now who smiles when they see you. They laugh at your jokes. They say the right things at the right moments. But deep beneath that warmth, beneath that practiced performance, they are quietly, secretly hoping you fail. And the terrifying part? You feel it. You just don't trust yourself enough to believe it. Carl Jung spent decades mapping the hidden architecture of the human soul. He didn't just study what people say. He studied what people cannot stop themselves from revealing. He called it the shadow, that dark, unacknowledged side of a person that leaks out in ways they never intend. And what he discovered is one of the most unsettling truths in all of psychology. The people who hate you most are almost never the ones who tell you. They are the ones who stay close. They watch, they wait, and they wear a face that was designed to disarm you. This is not paranoia. This is pattern recognition. And once you learn to see these signs, you will never be blind to them again. The first sign is almost invisible, and that invisibility is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Watch what happens when something good comes into your life. A promotion, a new relationship, a moment of genuine happiness. Watch the faces of the people around you in that split second before they have time to compose themselves, before they choose their reaction. Because in that fraction of a second, in that tiny, unguarded flicker, the truth escapes. Jung called this involuntary shadow expression. The psyche cannot lie at full speed. When the mask slips, what lives underneath it rises briefly to the surface. And what you will often see in people who quietly resent you is not joy. It is a tightening, a flatness, a hesitation that lasts just a moment too long before the congratulations arrive. They will smile. They will say the words, but you felt the pause. You noticed the eyes that did not quite catch fire the way a real friend's eyes do. You sensed the energy shift, like warmth being withdrawn from a room you didn't even realize had been warm. Do not dismiss that feeling. The body knows before the mind admits. Jung wrote that the unconscious communicates not through logic, but through sensation. That discomfort you feel in someone's presence, that quiet unease you cannot explain, it is not anxiety. It is intelligence. It is your shadow recognizing it. The second sign is more subtle and more cruel, because it is delivered with a smile and wrapped in the language of friendship. They undermine you with words that sound like support, not insults, not cruelty, something far more sophisticated. They offer compliments with quiet venom sewn into them. They praise you in ways that subtly remind everyone of your limitation. They say things like, for someone who started so late, this is incredible. Or, you've come so far. I remember when you used to struggle with it. They frame your progress as a surprise, your success as an accident, your strength as something that exists despite you, not because of you. This is not accidental. It is a psychological weapon designed to shrink you while maintaining plausible deniability. If you call it out, you sound ungrateful. You sound sensitive. You sound like someone who can't take a compliment. That is the genius of it. That is the poison in the honey. Jung understood this deeply. He knew that the shadow does not always express itself through open aggression. Often it expresses itself through control, through the subtle, constant work of making someone else feel smaller so that the shadow's host can feel larger. It is a transaction. Your confidence quietly drained to fill someone else's insecurity. And here is the part that will disturb you. This behavior is almost always unconscious. They may not even know they are doing it. The shadow does not require awareness to operate. It moves on its own. Driven by jealousy they have never admitted to themselves, by resentment they have buried so deeply it no longer has a name. They genuinely believe they are being kind. That is the depth of the self-deception. But unconscious does not mean harmless. A knife does not need intention to cut. The third sign is perhaps the most painful of all, because it involves silence. Not the silence of someone who has nothing to say. The silence of someone who had everything to say and chose to say nothing. When you needed defense, they were quiet. When rumors circulated about you, they offered no correction. When someone diminished you in a group, they looked away. They did not lie about you. They simply withheld the truth. And in that withholding, they allowed damage to be done that they could have prevented. This is the passive hatred. The hatred that never announces itself. The hatred that watches you struggle without extending a hand and tells itself it is simply staying out of it. But that is a lie. Neutrality in moments that demand loyalty is a choice. Silence, when someone needs your voice, is a statement. Jung believed that what we refuse to confront in ourselves becomes our fate, and what we refuse to confront in others becomes our wound. The people who betray you through silence are often the ones you trusted most completely, because trust is what gave their silence its power. You assumed they would speak. You assumed that closeness meant protection. And so when they stayed quiet, when you needed them and heard nothing, it did not just hurt. It restructured something inside you. It rewrote what you believed about loyalty, and that rewriting is the real damage, not the specific silence, not the specific event, but the slow erosion of your ability to trust your own instincts, your own value, your own place in the world. So what do you do with all of this? Here is where Jung diverges from simple cynicism. He did not want you to become hard. He did not want you to close yourself off and treat every person as a threat. That is not wisdom. That is the shadow consuming you from the inside. That is letting their darkness reshape your soul. What Jung wanted, what this whole framework demands, is integration, the ability to see clearly without becoming bitter, to recognize the signs without becoming paranoid, to protect yourself without losing the capacity for genuine connection. Because here is the deeper truth. The person who hates you without saying so is not your greatest danger. Your greatest danger is allowing their hidden hatred to convince you that the problem is you, that you are too much, that you deserve less, that you should shrink to make their discomfort more comfortable. You should not. You are not responsible for managing the unexamined shadows of other people. You are not required to carry the weight of someone else's buried jealousy. You are not obligated to remain loyal to people who are never truly loyal to you. The most radical act, the most Jungian act, is to look at the uncomfortable truth and choose yourself anyway, to trust the feeling in your gut when it speaks, to honor the discomfort that has been trying to tell you something you've been too kind, too hopeful, or too afraid to hear. The people who hate you quietly are counting on one thing above all else: your willingness to doubt yourself more than you doubt them. Stop giving them that power. The shadow hates exposure, and now you know what to look for.